comfortable. He supports arts. That's Eric Kasomo.
Then narakuitilia chini. Okay. Thank you so much. I want to introduce a person who I met when he was in primary school, and I had a word with him that one day you should become greater than me in the arts, and so far so good.
Thank you. My name is Lee Sanford. I'm a film and theater director, right? And thank you so much, Vakasomo. You've been I want to introduce a very good friend of mine. She's been, yes, she has been there for me in the darkest of times, and she's a producer for both film and theater. She's a concept developer. She's an actress. She's beautiful. She's glowing. Imirira, crocodile, imirira. Ladies and gentlemen, Chungu Chintere.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to introduce my baby, an actor, director, writer, award-winning actress. Miranda. Yeah, gang fan. Yeah, touch that in at Balapa. I was actually thinking I'll introduce you. Otherwise, Afuma. On the box to introduce. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, that's someone. Okay. He is yes. He is one of the when I sit with him poetry side, and this person, he's an award-winning poet. Yes. None other than okay. Okay. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be around everyone. I remove the mic.
Manmule. His name throughout this meeting. His name is Manmule. He's a supporter of the arts. He's been a brother, a friend as well. And yes, Manmule.
Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Two, two. Two, two. Two, 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 two. Two, two, two. Two, 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 two. Two. Two, two. Check. Two, two.
singers and different players. And these people are with us today, and we've continued adding layers to these partnerships. We've worked with copyright issues, ZAMCOPS. Thank you, Mr. Siamtondo and team, for being on board. And now we are also incorporating the likes of PACRA because we want to be responsive to the issues that come out of the different symposiums. And we can only be responsive if we listen to what is needed and what needs to be done. So this particular third symposium has been curated as a continuation also of the last one, because we want the artists, yourselves, to be able to explore some of these issues in such a way that brings different people on board, that moves our issues forward. So with that being said, I hope you are also ecstatic for an evening session that we will have as a build-up. Learning from our partners at CELAM, one thing that they believe in is the power of expression, music, or rather art in action. And we shouldn't end at just talking, but we should also experience it. So later today, we will be experiencing that through the Creatives Unplugged session, where we've got our amazing artists who are here, who are part of our first ever Zambia Artist Residency. Let's give them a hand, please. And they did really come up with beautiful music that I would like to say speaks to the soul and moves the soul. So we'll have that interaction. But I think for now, we are very, very pleased to have different people who will listen to in the process, and we'll be able to explore the issue of creative ownership of these creative works. This is a subject matter that we need to delve into, but also with the different institutions that are basically presiding over some of these issues so that we can interact and put this into reality. So with that said, I would like to thank you, welcome you once again, and I would like to invite our representative from CELAM, Sweden, Mr. Michael Owino, who's also the PANAF officer in the country, specifically for this activity. And just to check up on us, I would like to introduce him and ask him to come and share a few words. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Kazike. I've learned a few things since I came here, and one of it is it's a pleasure here. My name is Michael Owino from Kenya, and I work for SAM, who are the partners working with PAGS to promote artistic freedom in Africa. And just by being here today, I think creatives are the same everywhere. Whenever you're in a room with creatives, expect what? Laughter, jokes. I mean, it's a room where you feel refreshed. And I already feel refreshed. I feel like I'm at the Kenya National Theatre. But anyway, Kaziki asked me to say what. So I am which is the Pan-African Network for Freedom. And I'm being advance at freedom. And we do that through partners. We also have in Zimbabwe, your neighbor here, Ethiopia. We're looking to expand. And our main aim is to try and work with stakeholders within countries, within the African continent, to promote art as a form of expression, because art speaks to us in different ways. It helps us it helps grow our economy. It is also society's way of venting. When you feel something, art speaks to us, isn't it? And a lot of countries, unfortunately, use the powers that we grant them to stifle arts. That is making us grow to the full potential that art and culture can actually make us be. Look at other continents, the Americas, Europe. You see where art has taken those countries. And when we reflect back on Africa, we still have those challenges. And those are the challenges that we at PANAF are trying to work through to try and address at the continental level and also at the national level. And I'm glad that in this room, we have the right people who know about what art means for us and a society, and are doing everything possible to ensure that we're able to support creative expressions, because once people are at ease with each other, your culture brings us together. Once we are at ease with each other, then other things that we, as a society, that we aspire to will just come naturally. We will build our economy, we will build our families, we will build our society, because once we are at one with nature, and that is the culture, that's where the importance of culture is, then everything else will fall through, isn't it? So I'm very glad to be here today, to be in the company of great men and women. I've just had renowned, award-winning, I'm glad to be in the presence of such people, and also to learn from you, so that when I go back with at least some knowledge of the context, the cultural context of Zambia, such that when I speak about Zambia, I speak from a point of knowledge, and that's why I'm here today to support the creative sector in Zambia as you undertake these very important discussions that I know will bear fruit. So with those few remarks, asanteni sana.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Michaels. Without wasting time, I would like to introduce and welcome Mr. Kenneth Musamvu. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. From Pakra. Can we please give him a round of applause?
Good afternoon, once again. My name, like I've been introduced, I'm Kenneth Musamvu, coming from Pakra, Manager International Affairs and Copyright. I'm so happy that the invitation was extended to us so that we can come and speak on what we do. Thank you so much. I'm here to deliver a keynote address on behalf of the institution, Pakra. So let me read it. It is a great honor to deliver this keynote address on behalf of the Patents and Companies Registration Agency, this important gathering dedicated to promoting the growth and sustainability of Zambia's creative industry under the theme, Copyright and Creatives Freedom, Owning Our Work, Securing Our Future. Copyright lies at the heart of every creative endeavor, whether in music, film, literature, visual arts, broadcasting, or digital content creation. Copyright ensures that creators are recognized and rewarded for their intellectual efforts. It is the legal foundation upon which creativity becomes an engine for economic growth, employment creation, and cultural preservation. As a nation, Zambia's creative sector has demonstrated immense potential. With the right protection and enforcement mechanisms, creativity can become one of the pillars of knowledge-based economy. Pakra is mandated under the Copyright and Performances Rights Act, this is number 44 of 1994, to administer copyright and related rights on behalf of the government of the Republic of Zambia. Like Maliro was introducing, we worked together when this portfolio used to be under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services. Now it's under PACRA. So PACRA is the one that manages copyright and related rights. So our role encompasses registration of copyright works and related rights. I hope some of you have accessed our services through registration of your various works. Thank you, very good. Thereby providing creators with documentary evidence. You know, copyright is automatic. So people will just say, no, it's automatic, it's okay upon creation. But you know, with documentary evidence, it's very important because you have that prima facie evidence that you are the owner of this work in case of a dispute. And that certificate you get is admissible in court. So ownership and facilitating enforcement when infringement arises. Promotion of awareness among artists, producers, publishers, and the general public on the importance of respecting intellectual property. We also do regulation and supervision of collective management organizations. These are the CMOs, to ensure that they operate transparently and equitably in collection and distribution of royalties to right holders. We also collaborate with law enforcement agencies, the judiciary, and regional and international organizations such as ARIPO and WIPO to strengthen copyright enforcement mechanisms both nationally and internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, through these efforts, PACRA aims to create an environment where creativity thrives, innovation is protected, and creators benefit fairly from their works. Despite progress made, copyright infringement and piracy remain a major challenge. The digital era has brought both opportunities and threats, enabling creators to reach wider audiences, but also making it easier for their works to be exploited without authorization or remuneration. To address this, PACRA has been working with a few stakeholders to develop a new bill that addresses the current challenges. The law I mentioned, or I alluded to earlier, is a 1994. So you can imagine 1994 to date, technology has evolved, yet we're using that archaic law, yes. So we are developing this new bill, and soon we should be able to call on stakeholders to come and give their input. That will be stakeholder consultation. So we believe that strong enforcement not only protects creators, but also fosters investor confidence in the creative economy. PACRA recognizes that effective copyright protection cannot be achieved in isolation. It requires partnerships with the very people who create, distribute, and consume creative content. We therefore invite closer collaboration with artists and creative associations to encourage the registration of works and the adoption of proper copyright management practices. Collective management organizations to ensure that the rights of artists are protected and that royalties are collected and distributed transparently. Academic and training institutions to integrate copyright education into curricula and nurture a new generation of creators who understand their rights and digital platforms. And to the private sector, to develop innovative business models that promote legal access to creative content while ensuring fair remuneration to creators. By working together, we can transform creativity from a passion into a sustainable profession. Going forward, PACRA remains committed to implementing the revised national IP policy to guide coordinated implementation of copyright initiatives such as this, as well as expanding public awareness programs targeting young creators, schools, and communities, promoting regional cooperation through ratification of the Kampala Protocol on Voluntary Registration of Copyright and Related Rights. Anyone who's aware about the Kampala Protocol? So with the Kampala Protocol, one registration here in Zambia, effectively you have registered in all the 22 countries of RIPO member states. So that's the advantage of this protocol. And other frameworks, so enhancing digitization of copyright registration and data management systems to improve accessibility and efficiency. Our vision is a Zambia where creativity is respected, protected, and profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, copyright protection is not merely a legal issue, it is an economic and cultural imperative where we protect creativity, we protect our identity, our innovation, and our future. PACRA stands ready to continue working hand in hand with all stakeholders to build a vibrant and competitive creative economy for Zambia and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kenneth. Now, I would like to tickle your creative nerves. I would like to welcome two people up to the front so that they can, entertain us a little bit. I would like to welcome Chindo and Chris to the stage. Where's your counterpart? All right, let's give him a round of applause just to encourage them.
Where?
So he is Chris Njamba, I am Chindo na Matthew. So the poem I'm going to do talks about Zambia's independence. We're just preparing my president. Yeah. So the piece is titled, wait, what's the title? Okay, Zambia's independence. So the poem is in Chichewa language and English and some Bemba. So ngafyapanga sensi yaine, you snap. This is poetry. Right. So the poem goes like, are you ready?
One, two.
Okay, we're ready as well.
1, 2, 3, 4. Ubushiku bwa kufyalwa kobe nilelo
Yamayo yani.
mayo uwayemba
Mayo Kongola.
Zambia.
Be a house whose strong foundation is unity.
Unity.
No tribalism wins whoever destroy. What KK.
Harry Mwanga Nkumbula, Sikota Wina, Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe,
Built with the bricks of sacrifice.
A day is here. A day is here.
Siku lokumbukila keke mulimi wangwilizano siku lomenyelana
wina ndi mzache
osati kumenyana
wina ndi mzache
siku lafika siku lokumbukila keke mulimi wangwilizano siku lokolola mtendere siku lafika
ubushiku bwa kufyalwa kobe nilelo
yamayo yani
mayo uwayemba
Kongola
Zambia okufyalwa kobe kwatendeke nomulopa wafukolwe fyesu okufyalwa kobe kwaishile nobuntungwa mayo uwayemba mayo uwamutende
usuma bobe walingashiwa
wino pamabimbi ya Victoria umumana wa Zambezi ula kwentula wino
ukushana kwa kalambo kulakumbato omubiri wobe nensansa mayi wokongola
alindi mitundu 72 yolankula chilankulo chimodzi mugwilizano menemo ndiye kunyada kwatu ngati mikango tili olimba pamozi. Your birth was ushered in with the blood of our forefathers, sovereignty. The cheerleader, she sang solidarity songs of social cohesion, national identity, cultural heritage, freedom. Still loves those memorable melodies, well-crafted lyrics of Tiende Pamozi Ndimtima Umozi, helps you control your own borders with different similar languages, helps your children construct roads that lead to a city of oneness. Ubushiku bwa kufyalwa kobe nilelo
yamayo yani
mayo uwayemba
mayi wokongola
Zambia kubadwa kwako kumalola mugwilizano kutamangitsa nkhondo ngatimbendela yatu
kubadwa kwako ndisikondi ndi kumvana
kulangeti yofotokodza tonsefe timamva kutenta
zikupiliro zatu zitakhala zosiyana zofanana.
Our faithful forefathers hard-working, fruitful farmers planted your birth on the fertile soil of togetherness. Yes, peace is a cactus plant that knows no dryness. It grows well, a source of water.
Your birth made us farmers. We fell in love
With this land,
we planted peace.
on this land,
We harvested harmony
on this land. Ubushiku bwakufyalwa kobe nilelo
Yamayo yane.
mayo uwayemba
Mayo Kongola.
Zambia.
Kubadwa kwako. Kumabweretsa dani ndiambwenzi pamodzi. Kubadwa kwako ndichikumbutso. Kuika iweyo Zambia pasogolo. Kutetsa kusamvana kwatu. Pasandale za dziko. Kugwirana manja. Kumanga zomwe tidawononga ndi mkwiyo ndi zida zakupa.
Ubushiku bwakufyalwa kobe nilelo yamayo yane mayi wokongola Zambia. Your birth was ushered in with no political differences. Your birth came without political differences. So the only time that you must allow politicians to divide us using tribe is when they divide 72 by 72 so that it equals to one tribe, unity. So that is the only language that our tongues will speak.
On our black smooth skin is your marvelous, meaningful, memorable birth. For we, proud patriots, can sense the soft touch of patriotism.
Your birth speaks Bemba in Mbunda.
Sing Sala songs on a solid instrument.
Dancing makishi during Okusefya Pangwena.
Dimtima umodzi.
Tiende pamozi. Ubushiku bwakufyalwa kobe nilelo mailo na chila bushiku.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, gentlemen, for that amazing performance. Thank you so much. There will be more later on this evening. So, buckle up, guys. I would like to call upon Ms. Tabitha from PAGS to come and give us overview of the second PANAF Talk Symposium. Can we give a round of applause as she comes in? I would be looking at ways. Good afternoon, everyone. So briefly, I'll just give a brief background of where we're coming from. With the previous symposium, the previous PANAF symposium that we had, I think a number of you were present. So the conversation was on copyright, and then it also culminated into issues around monetization of digital content online. And when we had that panel and the interactions, there were calls for, or there was a gap that was noticed that we didn't have PACRA in that conversation. But also as action points, we created an action plan together and a task force. So I think there's representation from the arts associations on that task force, and the action plan was being actualized by the task force, and information was supposed to be channeled also in the WhatsApp group where everyone else was represented. But also, as we were having those interactions, we noticed that there's also another task force on monetization, which I think Reverend Water is a part of, and there's also the Internet Society Zambian chapter, and they've been running. So that would have meant we'd have had two separate task forces championing the same agenda. And so we thought it would be wise to have this continuation from the previous symposium that we had and bring in the other representatives that were absent in the other one, in the second symposium. So we break silos. Instead of working in silos, we work as one. The task force met, I think, a week ago, and we have a draft position paper
that speaks about the challenges with copyright and what we would want to see forward in the copyright law. And that will be shared, I think, by the end of this symposium with the other members because it's supposed to be a joint position paper by all the arts representatives present here. So it's supposed to be signed off before we submit it to the ministry that's in charge of the copyright law, but also just to the general public. So there is a position paper that's been drafted. And by the end of this symposium, I think today we also hope we get more action points that we can actualize. We build on the first action points, the action plan that we had, as we actualize the other plans that we have. So the panel discussion that we're going to have also speaks to one of the agenda items we had on our action plan. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tabitha. All right, without further ado, we would like to go into our panel discussion. But before that, I would like to call upon Mr. Daniel Pedro to come and introduce our panelists. Mr. Danny, sorry, he doesn't like to be called Daniel. Danny Pedro. It's just Danny. Okay, Mr. Danny.
Daniel Pedro. I was like, who is Daniel Pedro? Because I'm not that guy. A lot of people call me Daniel when they are teasing me. And I'll sit here. I'd have loved to stand there, but I don't want to look like Reverend Water. I ain't no preacher, man. I'm a decent man. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this panel discussion. Please, let me sit. Yes. So this is a continuation from the one that we started earlier on. So today we would want to look at the power and control that the creatives have on their content. How much money are we making? Can we make more money, more than what we are making right now? So ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the people, the panelists. Let me start with somebody that you've already seen, Mr. Kenneth Musamvu. He's a copyright administrator from Pakra. Mr. Musamvu. Let me also welcome Mr. Mirias Siamtondo. He's the general manager from Zamcops. And of course, your favorite person, the one and only, Rev Walter Mambazi. He's a radio and television personality. Gentlemen, welcome. We were supposed to have a representative from NAMA, Ms. Mufaweli Mambo, who happens to be the vice president. Maybe she'll catch up with us, so we'll imagine she's here. Yeah. So, gentlemen, we know that across Africa, artists continue to face systematic challenges in claiming ownership, economic rights over their work, while creative output remains high. So we have weak institution leakages, fragmented rights management systems, and limited collaborations among key players. This often results in artists losing both control and income from their creations. So this panel will explore how Zambia's creative ecosystem can move beyond silos by strengthening collaborations between regulatory bodies, collecting societies, creative associations, and media institutions to build a more unified and sustainable framework for creative ownership, fair compensation, and economic rights. So I believe we have the right people here to go deep into this discussion, and they should be able to help us understand more on this. So at the end of the day, we will be able to understand institutions like ZAMCOPS, what ZAMCOPS stands for, what PACRA also stands for. Gentlemen, welcome to this panel discussion. I believe Mr. Msamvu and of course Rev Water, you're joining us in this very one. Yes, and I know you already know what we discussed in spirit. Okay, so in your experience, this is a general question that of course the three of you will love to tackle, but I have specific questions for each and every one of you. So just quickly, in your experience, what are the biggest obstacles to realizing creative ownership and fair compensation for the artists? Let me start with Rev Water. We're going to do the switch. We start with the Reverend here.
So for me, as a content producer, I think our biggest barrier right now is enforceable legislation.
Okay.
Like literally laws that can kick in and actually do something about it. I know for a long time, you know, there's been a lot of work towards making that enforceable. But I think with cyberspace now, specifically YouTube and all the social platforms, I think there's been so much that's been done, so much that's reaching over my throat, so it's like they can't hear. So we're talking into it. Why do you have one? Anyway, so with the challenge of the social platforms today, I think a lot of people are jumping the gun and going into cyberspace. And last I checked, cyberspace is very difficult to regulate. And so from a proprietary standpoint, whoever registers first, you know, whatever work it is, gets to own that right. I'm aware of a number of cases within our artistic fraternity where that has happened. And even when the owner comes and says, but it's my song, you know, YouTube is like, but it was registered, you know. So it's a real big problem. And I think for me, I would love to see more work from these gentlemen's organizations to really, really push that and make it happen. Like, can we enforce copyright protection and enforcement where a definite breach has taken place? For me, I think that's the major challenge. So it's the law and its ability to be enforced. I think these laws have been around, but I just have not heard or seen anything where it's been properly enforced. The only place I'm seeing a lot of activity is products, you know, specifically, you know, lotions and, you know what I mean? Huh? Yeah, there. Those people have money, so they go and they take these police and they go with them and they catch all these people producing fake products. Because for them, it's very direct. But for the artists, man, that's a whole other story. Am I right, guys?
Thank you very much. I would like to agree with what Rev has said. Just to emphasize, to say the challenge now is the legal framework. Like I mentioned in the speech, you find that our law is a 1994. So I think the madam from the Ministry of Sport and Arts should agree. When we were in the Ministry of Information, we used to have a lot of raids, and you would see a lot of products, fake products being seized in the copyright circles. But now we're dealing with the digital environment. You know, our friends in the Western countries, they've got acts or laws that allow them to take down, you know, things. If someone has uploaded the work, it's not your own, you just write and then they take it down. And that's what we are working on in the bill that I mentioned. Those provisions are there. So if this law is enacted, I'm sure issues to do with the digital environment, enforcement of copyright in the digital environment will be much, much more easier. Yes, thank you.
Mr.
Yeah. In addition to what has already been identified as a challenge, which I 100% agree, I would also mention that, like from our standpoint as ZAMCOPS administering copyright on behalf of musicians, I think another challenge is that we've been working alone in isolation for a very long time. Certain things I think can be enforceable, can be achieved if you are working, with other key stakeholders as one unit to get certain things done. I'll give an example. Even in the absence of the law, there is so much that we could do together to ensure that copyright is adhered to. Because in our individual capacity, different artistic bodies, we engage with the other side of the copyright, which are the users. We engage with the users. We engage with hotel, lodge owners. We engage with nightclub owners, event organizers owners. We engage with these establishments. And these ones are required to adhere to copyright. So if we are working together as a unit, we'll be able to ensure that whatever place, whatever establishment we are dealing with is copyright compliant. And when we do that together as a unit, even in the absence of the law, we'll be able to achieve something because we are going to instill in the user that they have got an obligation to be able to honor or to pay for the usage of their works. And that itself is not just a ZAMCOPS challenge or issue. I think it affects all artistic bodies. When that is addressed, each and every artistic body will be able to realize direct economic benefit from their usage, be it in audiovisual, be it in literary works, be it in musical works. I think the benefit would easily accrue if we are able to work as a unit. I think the absence of that has also created an issue where the users are able to exploit and get away with their obligation as copyright key stakeholders.
Thank you, Mr. Siamtondo. Please, this moment, please allow me to call upon Mrs. Bridget Malumba to come forward. She's a NAC board member and, of course, creative. A big hand for Ms. Malumba. She is from film and theater. So, Madam, you sit in for the Vice President from NAMA, the creatives? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So let me start with, let me go back to Mr. Musamvu. Could you briefly explain how Zambia's copyright framework currently supports artists in claiming ownership of their work?
Okay, thank you for that question. The current copyright law recognizes creators. There are various categories. So when a person has created something, that person is deemed to be the owner of that work. It doesn't require any further formalities like the way other intellectual property rights are. With copyright, it's automatic. So that's already a plus, because if you have created something, as long as you're able to prove this is yours, well and good, that's fine. So that's how the copyright law protects ownership of copyright. We also go a step further to have the provision on voluntary registration. When you want that another extra layer to say, okay, how can I prove that this is my work? Recently, there have been a lot of these disputes between artists, this one claiming this and that. So that registration also gives you that extra protection, because it says, okay, imagine you have a plot, a card has given you a plot, but you don't have any papers. It would be difficult for you to prove, but the Copyright and Performance Rights Act will give you that comfort. Say you have registered this work, it is yours, nobody can take it away from you. And we are also going a step further to make sure that once we accede to the protocol I mentioned, the Kampala Protocol on Voluntary Registration of Copyright and Related Rights. If you are an artist, your work is being played in, say, Malawi, they are unable to access your details in terms of distribution of royalties. How do they know that you exist? They just go to Aripo. Aripo will have this database. The database will have all the, the information of the copyrights that have been registered in Zambia. And the user in Malawi will be able to access that through the collective management. They're able to remit the money that is due to you, and that's for your benefit. So that's how the Copyright Act is somehow trying to help. Thank you.
Reverend Walter mentioned about first registration. You may produce something, you produce it, and then I happen to be the first one to register it. So how does PANAF help you, the producer, the original producer of that one?
Okay, thank you. That's a challenge that is there. We had one, I think someone registered, or they wrote a script. They were working together as a group. I hope you are not here. Where you write a script, but because you have differed on the payment issues, your friend stays somewhere and he doesn't know about the issues of registration, you quickly come and do the registration here. So a dispute arose. I think it was to do with the awards, where and when submitting there's also that requirement. So can you show that this is your work? Yeah. So they came to the office, and then now that dispute arose. We quickly went into the database. We found out this is same title, same everything. The only difference is the name. Prove the owner has got that burden of proof. You prove, say, I've been, like when you're creating something, there's of course some drafts that you have. You just come and wake up, say, this is the final copy. There must be something that you have been working on along the way, which is one of the things that even you people, as you are creating something, make sure that you have got, that trail. Say, this is what I'm working on. These days, even, internet helps, because once you have posted it somewhere, those dates and everything, keep them so that you have got that short. Say, I'm the one that came up with this first. The unfortunate part with our law is that we cannot, it doesn't require us to amend. It has to go to court. Now you can imagine it's something, and the cost in the courts and everything. So, but I think the amended one, or the bill, is addressing that, because it will have something to do with the tribunal and everything, so that the issues of that nature are resolved before they even go to court. Thank you.
No, hold on to the mic. Okay.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add something.
Oh, you
I just want to add, yeah, so one little tip I can give to all of us here, I don't know which platforms you use to do your creations, but being a writer myself and doing a lot of writing, I use Word, I sometimes use Excel, sometimes I use PowerPoint. If you go to all these tools, you'll find there's a section for metadata. I hope you're familiar with that. So you go to the metadata, and it has a track record. So you can go on that and you can put your details there. So the beauty about that is most people, including the ones who are going to steal your work, will not go to the metadata, I assure you. So, unless they're here. No, even if they're here, I know for a fact, most won't. Because you know what you can do? Even if they change that, it'll be a new version. So you still have the older version with the older date. So you can easily say, hey, here's my original. There it shows the first time the work, the second, the revisions. You can put those dates out there, and it's easy to prove. With any basic forensic audit of your document, they'll prove, yeah, this is the first person. And that, for me, is one of the most powerful ways to prove you are the original author. So I've seen my slides in a few places, and I go check, I'm like, shame on them.
the steps that PACRA has taken to ensure that registration of copyright is accessible to the artists. Firstly, I would give the example, or maybe just the comparison when it was in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting and now at PACRA. In the ministry, you have to, wherever you are, you have to come to the ministry and do the deposit. When I say deposit, I mean the work, because we run a deposit system where you, whatever work that you have created, you deposit it with the organization so that it remains as evidence in case of a dispute in the future. With PACRA, it's dotted across all the 10 provinces. So that's one advantage, because even if we're there at lawmakers, but if you're in Chipata, like the case I was dealing with last week, where a person just submitted their book to the Chipata office, and then the Chipata, at the cost of PACRA, it is couriered to Lusaka for registration, and the certificate is issued, goes back to Chipata, the client, to receive it there. So that's the plus in which we are trying to help the creators to have easy access to the service of registration.
Okay. One more from me. The other questions obviously.
Okay. Okay.
So how close is PACRA working with sports and creative association to strengthen enforcement?
Okay.
And of course, we know that there isn't much education on copyright issues. So we would need to learn more about copyright. So what is PACRA doing about that to educate?
Okay, I'll start the first part. How close? Yes. Very close. Well, the creative arts, I think that's why this is important, this setup, symposium, so that people get to know. It's really surprising that the first symposium, PACRA was not there. Then you are discussing copyright law. The person who is supposed to get all those submissions and submit is not there. So it becomes a challenge. But we have been working very closely with the collective management organizations to ensure that they do that which they are registered for. They collect the royalties. They do, first of all, negotiations with the users and then collect. And in fact, we are trying to prop up another CMO. You know, she is there. We are trying to prop up a CMO in film because, you know, like there are a lot of these films that have come up and being watched everywhere. If you had a CMO, it would be easy for you to do collections of royalties from where the films are being exploited. So we are working very well. So in terms of enforcement, we have been working together and ensuring that wherever copyright works are being exploited, you know, they pay for the royalties. I don't know if this institution here has got a certificate.
Oh, yes, this lodge.
Yes, this lodge.
No, I made sure I was coming.
Yeah, because we make sure that all institutions where copyright works are exploited, there's something that is, you know, being done. So it's very important for collaborations instead of working in isolation. This brings me to a point which is dear to my heart. You know, I was mentioning about the amendment of the copyright bill. Then I just heard the minister sport, I think, mentioned also they are doing something for the arts fund, something like that. But when I read through that, I think it's more or less with what is already in the Copyright and Performances Rights Act. So this shows that we're working in silos. Because with the Copyright and Performances Rights Act, we have a provision where we are something that blank media levy. You know, if you own a phone, there is a levy at the point of production or at the point of entry that is supposed to be paid to ZRA. ZRA transmits to the CMOs so that the CMOs now transmit to their members. So now if the ministry comes up with that, PACRA also comes up with that, how do we harmonize? I do not think the ministry has got CMOs. You don't. So that's why there's need now to make sure that everything is harmonized. We work together to ensure that, okay, that is a very good initiative. Let's make sure that it's not diluted by these, come up with this. Be saying, but how come we are getting from the same thing? So it's important that we harmonize those things so that we move in one direction. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to Mr. Siamton, the General Manager of
Yeah, if we isolate a term there, fair compensation, that itself is a big challenge. We are unable to fairly compensate because when you are not collecting enough, it is difficult to compensate fairly. Our role at ZAMCOPS is to monitor wherever copyrighted works for our members are being exploited. We license these establishments, and then the fees that we collect, we then pass them on to the owners of the works. So if what we are collecting is very little, it means you are going to pass on very little. And that is not even fair compensation. You can see my boss here who is seated very close to me is paying close attention. So when you don't fairly compensate, then it becomes a problem, because then it means that the owners of the music are not getting enough. And what are the challenges why we are not collecting enough? As has already been mentioned to several times, the weak legal framework that we have is not enabling for us to be able to collect to each and every place. In that copyright bill, which was done in 1994, does not compel institutions, users, to be able to pay for a copyright license. So it leaves the whole process something which is voluntary. You have to negotiate, you have to persuade. In some instances, we spend more trying to collect for very little at the end of the day. So you have got high operational costs against very little that is coming in, because the law, the legal framework is weak. So we've been crying and lobbying for that, and we are happy Pakra is here so that we were able to understand and be able to push for a speedy enactment of that copyright bill. We should have had that for a very long time, and it's about time. And we invite all other artistic bodies to also join in lobbying for that to happen. If possible, let's have it this year, so that come 2026, we are now going to operate on a new copyright bill. It's easy now to be able to collect more from these institutions. And when you collect more from these institutions, you are going to pass on more to the users of the music. I'm worried about the new coming CMO under audiovisual, because if they find the same environment, it will be very difficult for them to even start, you know? So it's better to have at least create that loophole and create an enabling environment so that we're able to collect. And once we do that, we'll have a lot of media houses coming on board because we have a strong legal backing. We'll have all other institutions coming on board to be able to support. And then we'll also have the blank media levy that Mr. Msamvu has elaborated, that is contained in the draft, that will add to an extra revenue of income that will go towards the artists. That way then we are able to talk about fair compensation. So that in a nutshell are the challenges we are facing, and we hope to get that copyright bill enacted as quickly as possible. Everything, I'm sure Mr. Msamvu will be able to, to help us get it done.
Approximately, when it comes to media houses, how many TV and radio stations are in Zambia, and how many are you collecting from at the moment, or how many are paying at the moment?
Yeah, I was hoping to avoid that question today. Because somewhere someone said, no, look, these figures we're giving you are now. So currently, I was reading a very interesting report that IBA have approved, I think, new other radio stations. That is going to bring the total of radio stations to about 208, if I'm not mistaken. So we have over 200 radio stations. I think we have over 62, we have over 60 TV stations currently in our country. But how many of these are compliant? In percentage, I would say only 10% are compliant. And you know what that does? When compliance is very poor, we have artists, because these sometimes are also regional in nature. We have a radio station that is based, for instance, in Solwezi. It will cater for artists that are based in Solwezi. But if that radio station is not compliant, it means those artists in Solwezi whose music is being exploited on that radio station will miss out on a payout. They are not going to get their royalties because that radio station is not compliant. And so only those that are compliant, that are probably based in Lusaka, those that are within range that we can go and engage and fight, are then able to collect. So only those artists who are getting their works to these few are able to benefit, while these others in various are missing out. I hope that answers the question.
Sorry, I just want to add something. I guess I'm always a disruptor. So let me come in with a serious disruption here. Yes. You know, guys, I'll be very honest with you. As far as my studies are concerned, radio and television are going out. The whole landscape is so messed up. Television are hardly making money. The numbers are gone. DSTV is a shadow. Top Star is like useless. ZMBC, look, I mean, if I give you the numbers, they're very depressing. Because DSTV, just 3 years ago, before load shedding, we're sitting at 955, almost 1 million subscribers in Zambia, dedicated. Today, they are sitting at 50,000. Then Top Star were at 500,000 when things were okay. Right now, they are hardly over 12,000. So what's that saying to that particular space? I'm telling you guys, forget about those. We're not going to see money. I mean, of course, they'll put the laws and whatever, but it's a law too late. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, even IBA is going to become irrelevant in 10 years. I dare say so. Why? Because the whole space is moving cyberspace. So this whole terrestrial thing, towers, whatever, they've been overrun by technology. So now what does that imply here? So as artists, we need to really think outside the box. I mean, it'll be great if they can do something, but if the radio stations and TV stations are closing, I mean, radio is surviving because of these Japan cars. You get that equation out, radio is gone. So I hear people opening new TV stations. I'm like, do these people consult or do they just, wake up and just say, let's open a TV station? I mean, it's a nightmare, guys. They're not making money. Their money is ad revenue. Do you know, I won't mention names, but do you know what these bully companies do to these small stations? So it's a real nightmare, and ask anybody in radio right now, which radio station is paying salaries on time? So, is it, huh? Good for you. Good for you, bro. But the majority, I am aware, it's rough. So things are really, really tough. And as far as that particular component on radio and television, I think we need to really begin to think outside the box and run with this cyber thing, because that's the one. That's where everything is heading. Podcasting, whatever, TikTok, whatever. That's where it's happening. So we need to find a way to catch that, because that's where the money will come.
Yes, Madam Bridget.
All right, thank you. You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Nobody can hear you because this thing is... but we can hear you.
All right. Distractor. All right. My contribution basically was, I think everything happens for a reason. I'm a bit spiritual. I think the delay of the review of the act has been divine. Let us think if the law was repealed maybe 5 years ago, would have made us struggle for us to go back to Parliament, looking at the people that we have in our house, that sometimes they don't understand our space. And they don't take time to come and understand our space. They would rather just debate without us. And I believe the arts, we have a slogan, there's nothing for us without. Nothing for us without? Yes. So taking from what Reverend has spoken to, for me, I think this is the right time. That as we are, as artists, it's important that PACRA takes time not to be called by PAGs, but create your own platforms where you call not just this handful. We are a lot. I'm sure you know that, like any. We are a lot. We can go association by association and begin to get submissions. Because let me tell you, if there's a constituency that has got more youth, I know the bigger artists don't want to hear this, but we have more youth in the creative. And they're the ones who are doing the gaming, they're the ones who are attempting to create apps. Our Zambian youth are just there when it comes to digital space. So let us allow our people, our young people, to make submissions to this law so that it is relevant 10, 20 years from now. Because if we're going to go with what has already been submitted and ask Parliament to enact it now, we'll be the only one, we'll be the ones to be blamed because it won't have relevance. I like where he's getting to. Definitely, we love our TV, we love our radio, but what the world is going, the world is going digital, and may our law be in the area of digital. Yeah. I also want to speak to the fact that, I hope I'm allowed, yeah, sure. There's also the fight that has been going on, the Monetize Zambia, your battle. Correct. That Monetize Zambia cannot work until that law is properly attended to. And it can only be attended to if you people and our colleagues who are not sitting here are given an opportunity to submit. And I believe this is an agent matter. So if we're going to have any takeaway from here, PAGs, is the fact that may the task force that has been made begin to visit Bank of Zambia, because I know it's one of the institutions that is in the way of monetizing Zambia, if I am right. Yes. The Ministry of Technology, Science and Technology are one of those. So can we make sure that that becomes an immediate exercise? Otherwise, if we're going to sleep, they're going to enact a law that is not going to be relevant to us and to our children. We are going digital, and our friends from Kenya, I'm sure can attest to that. They're way ahead of us. Way ahead. We're mechanical when they're digital. So that is what I wanted to contribute. I think for me it is divine that it is not yet done. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If we go by Reverend Waters' prophecy of 10 years.
Yes.
Before your radios and TVs expire.
Yes.
So how can connections and distribution systems be improved through partnerships with media institutions and of course digital platforms?
All right, thank you. Well, since they are still here, we still have 10 years. And within these 10 years, what we are doing as ZAMCOPS, we are working closely with IBA, because IBA is a body that regulates these media houses. So we are working with IBA to ensure that we come up with a system that is interlinked. We are able to support, because for one to open a radio station, they have to go to IBA to get a license, and they renew that operational license. And that obligation they have every year, which they really respect, they do every time. We want to link with their system so that they're also able to renew a copyright license. And I'm sure PACRA is really also working closely to ensure that that linkage is established, so that at a point, and that will automatically bring all these 200 media and 62 TV on board in terms of copyright licensing. And also we have developed systems that we've come up with that will help us to be able to monitor. Because it's one thing to collect and another thing to be able to fairly distribute what you've collected. So we have systems that allow us to be able to closely and accurately monitor so that we are able to obtain usage data from these radio stations. What we need is their cooperation to be able to allow our system to work with their system, because their interest is not on what we are doing on the distribution side. So that is a discussions, engagement we are having with the media houses, so that we are able to synchronize our systems so that we can accurately get accurate usage data, which will entail accurate and fair distribution to the rightful owners.
Thank you. Rev, you've been a very strong voice on issues of monetization, digital creatives. From your perspective, what is the current state of monetization for artists and content creators in Zambia?
You know, when we say monetization, obviously, there are two major streams here. So there's one stream which is working a bit, not much, a bit. Then there's the other which is zero. So the zero one is the one where the platforms themselves pay. So Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. You know, depending on the amount of content being generated, they have metrics which they use to determine, and then they have a paying system. But Zambia has been forever off that list. And the worst part isn't just even the aspect of the inability to pay, but even the means of paying. So you find that to receive money as an artist, those who do the workaround, which is, you know, go register in the UK, US, or whatever, right? Even when they do the workaround, they lose roughly 50% of revenue. So imagine a guy like Your Maps generates some pretty decent numbers on his videos. But I can tell you firsthand that by the time he receives the money here, he's already lost 50% of the revenue. And then, to add insult to injury, when he does get the money here, then ZRA are like, hey, withholding. So at the end of the day, the gentleman ends up going with about 40% of the revenue. That's pretty painful when you look at the numbers and amounts involved. Now, that's Your Maps. So the rest who are not part of that setup, your money, our money, because I'm also a content producer, just goes into cyberspace and gets, you know, just out there, and that's the end of it. So that's the first method. That one is really a nightmare. We've been working. I can tell you, for example, we had calls trying to look for who runs PayPal so that we can have proper conversations with whoever's in charge. That's not been easy, my brother. We've failed. Like that, we've just failed. And this is engaging the embassy in the US, engaging whoever. So you find that it's
so you're engaging them as who?
Under Ministry of Sport. The artists are the ones who initiate through the PS Fumbachama.
Under arts?
Yes, under arts. And then we obviously started now interconnecting. So we found commerce have got something else they're doing. Then we found that information have got something they're doing. And so the whole thing was so difficult to put together. I mean, there's a man who's just walked in who can give us some insight on where they've gone with copyright, but I can, with monetization. But I can tell you, hey, that's right. But I can tell you it's been a nightmare, brother. It's been a nightmare because we've been going round in circles. And let me be honest with you. The biggest nightmare we face is actually, how can you put it? Money. You cannot create a task force and not fund it. You understand what I mean, huh? You people in the arts, you know what I'm talking about. Because there's a day when you have to do Kainikwoti. There's a day you have to sit and do Vichani. Then they know, now we need somebody to go and sit Kainikwoti. What? Now you're like asking, you know, fuel from where? Just don't fuel and then go. So chimwela chisi. Now you can start off with a chimwela, but after some time, a meeting is full. So Palast is like, okay, ndako na iwe. At ndako last time. Iwe ndako. So that's the kind of situation we're in because there's no real money. And if they could, as government, and government has no money, but if as government they could put money into these task forces, we would make far more progress, but they're not going to. Now let me talk, sorry. Now there's the other side, which is a bit better. I think many of you are familiar. And that is the leveraging of your brand for placement. You understand what I mean, huh? So that's that people do make a bit of money. So if you've got some numbers, you know, Trade Kings will come to you, they'll ask for endorsements, and you make money. So that's how Simon Mwewe and all these vloggers are making money. Essentially, it's really just placement. That's the only money being made as far as Zambian monetization and these digital platforms. Otherwise, as far as them paying, nope. And the few who've managed to go out there, they are being killed by the chargers. Because it starts, imagine, for America, many matches are 30%, in case you didn't know. It's 30%. So I do books on Amazon. I've got some things on digital platforms. They take 30% as tax, the American government. Then just 70 boy now your first my transfer fees. Then ikafaku now wazedare. So by the time these guys are done, plus by the way, many artists are managed, right? So your management company also gets a percentage. And then guys who've signed away your birthright, because a number of artists have done that, and I don't know if I have an opportunity to talk about that. But this signing away, where you just sign deals, some of you are selling your birthright. And I'll talk about that later. So that doesn't help either. So yes, they'll give you a 1 million today, but what if your song becomes the next Ngozi song to feature on a top-level movie? If it's gone past 5 years, you have nothing there. It's gone.
You've mentioned about policy gaps or infrastructure limitations, such as the lack of digital platform payment system or low platform eligibility. How is this affecting monetization of artists' work?
They are killing us. That's what I can tell you. You see, for example, there's a platform called Payoneer. So you could get paid through Payoneer, and it works. The problem with Payoneer is, first, they're charging you $2 a month just to have their card. Then, when you go to withdraw, they're charging 1.5% of what you withdraw, or $1.50, depending which is higher. Third, if you go past 3 withdrawals, they start charging you $2 for every subsequent withdrawal. Imagine. So 1.5%, if you're being paid $10,000, that's a lot of money, my guys. That's $150. Do you know what you can do with $150 in Zambia? It's a lot of money. So the platforms, they are grossly unfair. They are taking advantage of us because we have no awareness of the way we pay. How many be eligible and even get on that thing? So you find most can't. So you end up working through other people. So you find a person in America, so they say, okay, no, I'll do it for you. Then so when you ask, why in drama? There was a tax. Oh no, there was shine. My story full. Then after you push him, he says, I can't shit it. But what about the money? Which money? They were charging me. So that's how Zingena man's. So that's the big challenge, my brother. We really need the payment platforms to be opened up, and you're right, Bank of Zambia, even if they are shirking the responsibility, I believe they are playing a role. They need to make sure they open whatever is opened so that we can have these, our platforms feature. When you go on paper, when you go on, there are quite a number of Stripe. It's very, very powerful, as a payment platform to facilitate your payment gateway. So you go there and they will say, not your country, not your country. Very depressing. So even when you're creating, and there's another space, guys, which, okay, the artists are more familiar, but there's another space which is so powerful, and that's the art, the actual crafts. This stuff like what you're wearing there. These things are huge, eh? There's so much money in that, eh? But do you know we can't make money out of that stuff? Some of you guys are crafts makers. You make really powerful crafts like the one you're wearing there, Mama. Very good stuff. This stuff is a income generator. But you find that those of us here who make this we don't have a platform where we can put them, and then they order from there. They pay direct, like the, thrown away. There's people I've seen who take bottles and refashion them. There's really, really good stuff in that space, and you can't sell that right now. You can't go online and then people from Sweden order. You can imagine if somebody in Sweden ordering, they're going to pay some good dollars. But no, you can't do that. So you end up having to sell wholesale to somebody who collects them and takes them and goes and makes 10 times the money over there. So those are some of the really big barriers I hate. And finally, there's another barrier. We call it there's something called the gig economy. And this goes beyond artists now. This is how teachers, example, the space that's really become very popular, which is the tuition space. A lot of teachers can teach online. Did you know that Zambia has one of the most legible accents out there? So when it comes to foreigners learning English, they can understand Zambians better than they can understand, for example, South Africans. So Zambian teachers who teach English as a second language, let me tell you guys, there's money. But right now, which Zambian teacher can go online and teach and be paid directly by immigrants going into the US, into the UK, paying Zambians to teach them English? Can't be done. So those are some of the barriers we're facing.
Great. For now, let's forget about the 10-year prophecy. Let's look at now. What contributions among broadcasters, political society, of course, government bodies play in improving access to monetization opportunities for Zambians?
You know, the problem is I'm inside.
If we want to broadcast,
I am inside, so I know. That's the time. Those of you who run TV, they're not making money. That's why certain companies, no names mentioned, can go and blackmail TV stations and radio stations and say, we're going to pay you, we're giving you 2 million kwacha. Play our ads throughout. TV stations and radio stations are forced to do that because they're not making money. So this is where the real problem is. So the whole space is shifting. And so therefore, even when we talk about TV stations, radio stations, I can't even give a picture because I don't see them being relevant in the next 2 years even. I said 2. I'm serious, guys. I mean, 2, yes, because this load shedding is killing the industry. You know, load shedding is what I call a catalyst. It just came like COVID. It just came and did this. And that's it. Everything fell apart. I mean, where's Zambezi today? Zambezi Magic. Are people producing content and being paid for Zambezi Magic? No. So the model has changed again. So which means producing content, doing soaps or whatever, you have to have a whole new strategy on how to make money. Zambezi is not there anymore. Zuba was closed. I don't know where Hali is going, but with 50,000 subscribers, I say, yeah, 50,000 subscribers, sorry, that ship has sailed. That's gone. It's gone. It's not coming back. They're never getting back the 955,000 subscribers. I tell you, as an expert, it's gone. The model has shifted. So if the model has shifted, I hope, based on what my sister was saying, I hope our stakeholders here can be, what's the word? Proactive to see the shift and begin to anticipate laws that take into account the shift. Forget about these broadcasters. They're just not going to make it. And I tell you, simple example. Let me say, I am daring to say, even 10 years from now, even these Airtel, MTN, you come back and remember my words. They are on the way out too. No, they're all on the way out. You know why? The technology is changing. And that's why when you do laws, you need people that can think 10 years ahead. Forget about the laws for what they are now, because the government and legislation are always doing catch-up. First, there's a scammer, he scams, he cheats people, everybody cries, then they put a law. But by the time they do the law, the scammer is already 10 steps ahead, you know what I mean? They're already doing something new. And then you come and do a law again, so you're always doing catch-up to the scammers. What I'm saying is, this whole digital space, guys, has changed. If you remember one thing I said today, just remember what I've said. There's a disruption. And by the way, please, in your laws, include AI. Because AI is also disrupting the space. You've heard what's going on in America, where the Actors Guilds and all these platforms are putting laws. Thank God YouTube has yielded. Now they're not paying for AI-generated content. But my question, what's going on in Zambia? Are we even thinking of AI? Or we're still doing TV stations? We're still doing TV stations, which are all going away, by the way, including the big ZNBT. You see, they are already operating in minus every time. They are on minus already. So that's all going. I've said mine all.
Yes, but Madam Bridget.
Yes.
Yes. How's NAMA working to bridge the gap between artists and regulatory bodies that manage their rights?
All right, thank you. I'm sitting here as a board, but of course, having been a former NAMA president, I think I'm in the space to talk about that. NAMA, I would like to borrow sadly what Rev is saying, is that I think we as a reactive nation, we want to react to things. We don't think faster and outside the box. ZAMCOPS has been in existence how many years now? Longest of time. But you see all right. So what am I trying to say is that FUME in Zambia, we can even include the place eco times for those. Yes, but they don't know what place eco is. Ask your neighbor what place eco is. But what are we saying? The FUME space, we have delayed even to create a CMO that can be able to collect royalties for our members. We are still in discussion. I started the discussion when I was NAMA president. I'm past NAMA president. We have not even been able to host our people. We are in talking with PAGs that they could bring our producers together and give us a mandate that we quickly begin to jump and create a CMO before broadcasters die. I believe it. Yes, but for us, I think we want to borrow. There was a workshop that we attended by the invitation of PACRA, I think 2 years ago when we had an audiovisual global conference. We believe that we may be sleeping in Zambia, but I don't think the world is sleeping. And for us, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's just a matter of asking how is Nigeria doing it? How is South Africa doing it? And if we want, we can even be more ambitious and ask how is the Big Apple doing it? So that we just copy and paste before allowing us to start thinking, finding X where we can't find X. So the best is to quickly, before we enact, we just see how our friends doing. The SG for NAMA is there. I think it is time that we now begin to research, quickly get into research and find out what our friends are doing in terms of getting royalties. And I'm sure everybody is, of course, broadcasters are still there, even in America, even in South Africa, but they are, simultaneously working with the digital space as well as the traditional way of getting our royalties. So as NAMA, we have been in talks, and PACRA we've written to them. We're just waiting for them to give us a date when we bring our producers together and get that mandate to quickly move to the space, because as we are talking now, for those that attended the Kimbo National Art Festival, you witnessed that through NAMA, we had invited our colleagues from East Africa. East Africa already, hi Kenya. They're already a few steps ahead of us. They've realized that the money is in the numbers. So you need to unify the market. That is the way to go. So we as Zambia, where we are saying we're not landlocked, but land-linked, we're still sleeping, we're not engaging Angola, we're not engaging Namibia, we're not engaging Mozambique. Our friends in East Africa have done is that they went to UNESCO and got a fund from the Film Fund, from the International Film Fund, that allowed them to create a streaming platform. So as we are talking, they have their own Netflix in East Africa, which is called Streamist. And we're lucky that because Zambia to Alsala, yes, we found ourselves in East Africa and we also became East Africans. And we are part of that Stream East. So already, even when it comes to movies, we're not just depending on broadcasting houses, traditional broadcasting houses. We have already gone digital also, believing that as more people begin to watch these, because now film is on the phone, film is on the gadgets. So as people begin to, using their data, get to stream these movies, we're hoping that now our producers will be able to be getting paid. But it's also the challenge that we're facing is the payment platforms. Our SG will be able to attest to that. He's been running between his office and Zanaco, to just make sure that we get a payment system where our people can be able to get our money through the bank. It's been a challenge, but we're still thinking outside the box to see what we can do.
So, Rev, we've been relying on other people's digital platforms. What does it take for us to have our own Netflix?
Well, first and foremost, no. The brains are there. They are very brilliant. I can tell you, hands down, we have absolute geniuses in this country because of the infrastructure. So we need the infrastructure to be improved. I mean, you've got your phone that is telling you 4G, try so. Just a normal thing. Those of us who are online every time, we struggle just to get a stable signal. Some of us are subscribed to 3-4 different network service providers because you find Liquid's going down, now you're on Airtel, Airtel's going down, now you're on MTN, and you keep doing it. It's so annoying. And in the evening, it's even, Z Mobile doesn't exist in my books. But it's so difficult, Sherry, because we have pathetic networks. And now, again, sorry to say, load shedding isn't helping. Because the people running the towers are failing to make, because we've gone to the networks, hey guys, signal. So the networks have said, we don't run the towers, that's Infratel. So you go to Infratel, they won't tell you on the record because they're government. But off the record, they say, the truth, boss. My gen said, fuel. Stinga kwenis. 20 hours, gen said, just to run signals. The operational costs are too high, and we can't increase the charges anymore. So you realize that the problem is infrastructure. That's our biggest minus. So until the day, but you know what? Now that I've painted a bleak picture, there's a bright side to this. You know what the bright side is? The bright side, guys, is these same service providers are all going. Same way. Sorry. Don't show this. Where is Mr. Kazike? He's not there. Don't show this to the stakeholders. They'll be upset. Yeah, yo. They will not invite me for sessions. I cancel that guy. Cancel him. He talks too much. Cancel him. But the truth is, even the service providers are going. They are so threatened, and I'll tell you why. Between Microsoft and Elon Musk's company, these guys are taking so many satellites into space, and within the next 2 years, there will be no inch of ground on the Earth that will not be covered by satellite. So we are going to see a shift on those gadgets you're holding from SIM-based and network-supported to satellite-based. It's coming. So what that will mean is you'll just be buying your phone once. That's it. There's nothing like monthly charges, putting bundles, buying data. That's going to be gone. Why? Because, and then somebody's saying, wait, but they need to make money. Yes, they'll make their money. They'll make their money by ad placement. That's the model. Because when you have the numbers, people will pay millions to show ads on your numbers. So that's where the whole telecom industry is going. So even right now, we agree this infrastructure is a pain in the backside, but the whole idea of digitizing the entire world so that everything is online is a big deal. In fact, your AI won't work. Let me be honest with you guys. Your AI won't even perform the way it's supposed to with this crappy internet service we have over here. So we need 4G minimum, 5G. That's what we need. And then augmented reality, VR, and all these fancy terminologies when it comes to tech are going to really perform at super level. And we have the gifted people in this country, I can tell you that. We have the gifted people, personnel who can then exploit these for the benefit of the local people. It's coming, it's gonna happen. It's literally just a matter of time. Maybe another 5 years, but they're going to bypass these towers, whatever, they will become obsolete in 10 years because the satellite will be doing the job.
So, going by the prophecy.
Can I just add something by the prophecy?
No, you will. Those of us like Ebo, who are working for broadcasting institutions, those of us working for mobile providers, I think we should start preparing application forms. Other institutions.
No,
I believe we won't have jobs in 10 years.
Because the technology
each in, and we are going to do that in a bit. I just have one more question for Madam Bridget here. What kind of capacity building do you think us need to understand how to claim for our economic rights?
Definitely.
Capacity building for us. We're just producing.
Nombe chola.
Yeah, it's chola. So
All right.
there's some form of education that we need.
Definitely. Before I answer your question, I just want to add to what Rev was saying in terms of why can't we have our own Z-Flix. I also, before I got an understanding, was thinking that when you just have a streaming platform, people must just bring their productions, people watch, and you pay like that. Until I got to understand, we had one of our members in the last executive. He did actually come up with a streaming platform. He's actually in Mfulira. It was called DESAC. He had that one, but that is where I began to understand that you need a server. And that is where the cost of having a streaming platform goes. So even for the guys in East Africa, the funding was actually to just be able to be on the server under Amazon. So it is a server where everything that you're streaming, your market, your producers, fits. It's a server that costs money. So what this guy in Mfulira, our guy, did was he even came here in Lusaka, tried to lobby to the government to just give him a small fund to just scale up the capacity of his server. He failed. No. In Lusaka currently we have one of the guys that has also tried. How many know of Inuit? Yes. Yes. Inuit is yes, he's struggling. It is server number one. Number two, we need to all of us agree, because these things don't work, like we've said, in isolation. We all have to be intentional. We all have to agree that this is the direction in which we want. There is Inuit, but how many of our producers have got products on his platform? How many of us are even watching? You understand? So it is something that we need to work in collaboration to say this is what we want. How do the producers access this? How do we attract the market, the Zambians to eat? How do we attract the corporate? It starts with all of us agreeing that this is what we want for Zambia. But for as long as we are letting, it's got a platform, let's see how far you go. Doesn't work. Unapeleka hapo fume, banakulipira zinga? Guy ujanikuruko, usapeleka hapo. We're just killing ourselves. So we need to be intentional, we need to agree. Because at the end of the day, it's not about 2 years from now, we need the money now. Unless all of us agree to work together. So coming to your question, saying what kind of learning do the producers need, or the filmmakers or the creatives need for them to know where Ichola Chawo is? For me, it starts from from one, like grade ones. We need to make it, I'm sure the chairperson is here. Ma'am? Yes, I'm glad that our new chairperson is here, very vibrant. I think we need to begin to have conversations with our associations to say that it is in their mandate to make sure once they are in office, maybe every quarter or 2 times a year, they have some kind of symposiums for their members, where they bring in stakeholders who can begin to capacity build our members in terms of literacy, financial literacy, technology literacy. Where are we going? Even such prophecies, we need them to provoke us to action. Yes, dangerous ones, but we need them. Yes. So where we begin to make our members begin to understand that this is the direction where we go. We need to be intentional. If we are not, we'll always be here. So, Pakra, please, there's a lot of work that is here. We'll go back and actually schedule meetings where you begin to meet each and every association. We are all creatives, but I think our DNA is different depending on what our craft is. I think it starts from there.
Can I just add to what she said?
Yeah.
Just briefly.
I hope Pakra is not closing in 10 years.
No, they won't. No, they will never close. No, they will never close, I can tell you that.
Please go ahead.
So here's the thing. I say that if you look at what she's just raised, and the massive gargantuan challenge it really is. How do you get people to all, sort of like march in the same direction and support local and do this and do that? For me, that's Pakra and Samcops being government aligned come in. they have to convince government to put legislation, because that's the only way. When you force a market, because we can't run away from that, guys. If you're going, you have to put a law and say, if you do not, it will amount to this. So you are off by law required. I mean, let me give you a good example. When I started smart invoicing, do you know how annoying smart invoicing is? It's so annoying. It's pissing off. But then it's ZRA. They say, did you know ZRA has now introduced smart invoicing? You are now required by law to ensure that when you send your quotation, you use the smart invoice, or else was that your one? Can you argue now? ZRA has said, quasi that, end of topic. Whether you like it or yes, you are going to use smart invoicing. That's what we need, gentlemen, ladies. That's what we need, more law, their music. We need laws which will say, from today, if you are foreign Shanoko, in Zambia, you will pay so much. But if you are a Zambian Shani, what, you get exempted.
So now we'll start taking questions. We'll take three back to back. We'll start with Abel. Yes. So it'll be 1, 2, 3. So one question, and please let's be
Testing 1, 2.
That's a tough one.
I have a lot to say.
Yes, sir.
It's taking your steam.
Yeah, mine is not a question actually. It's just to add on what has been said.
Okay.
I agree with the things that have been said, but I disagree with most of it. First of all, I think that prophecy is a lie. Yeah, it's a lie. Yeah. No broadcaster is dying anytime soon. And I believe that what we use right now are just platforms, and platforms are changing. What makes people like broadcasters, people like IBA to still stand up to now is credibility. No matter what we do today, we still need IBA, whether we watch it from a palm, whether we watch it from a phone, whether we watch it from the way our grandfathers used to watch them from the mirrors. It's regulation. At some point, every well-meaning person will need regulation. I can't sit home and not be comfortable with what my children are watching. We all live at a point where we need regulation. Then the other thing, and I want to provide, it's something that I discovered when I went to Nigeria. I used to have that same, no, monetize Zambia. I think we are pushing for a good agenda, but in a wrong way. What the Nigerians did, and this is also a conversation I found in Mombasa last year when I went to Kenya. What the Kenyans did, they forgot. No, not forgot. They put aside this thing of waiting until systems come in place and so on. They went to what they call the VPN way. I don't know if someone has heard of that. VPN. Yeah. And that's what the Nigerians did. Not that it was out of desire, no. It was out of anger to make money. And this is the way that I'm telling artists now. There are certain ways that you can use for now that will prompt the right procedures to come. I'm not saying we do something illegal, no? But what I'm saying, there are so many ways we can go about it and still make money.
Just to show you as you are speaking.
Yes. Ending via the same VPN that I'm talking about. But the message that we are giving our members, me, I'm a Christian, I believe the first thing that we should give ourselves is hope. Not kill the hope. I'm speaking one as an artist, and I'm also speaking as a broadcaster. I strongly believe that radio will stay, TV will stay, and broadcasters make money. We make money. That I can tell you. And tomorrow we'll still make money. And the same with issue of artists. What is happening right now are platforms that we're kind of putting energies to understand when there's a way we can go about it and still make money. What I'm trying to bring out is, let's think outside the box and still make money. Our president has just shown me that he's making money, and Zambia is not monetized. And I think this is the message that we can concentrate so much for now. Once it's there, then the people that were sitting on the right will say, oh, okay, I think we can find a way to have them this, and then we can tax them. You see what I mean? I'm just thinking those lines. Let's create hope for our industries. There's still ways that we're going to make money. Yes, satellites will come. All these digital platforms will come. These are just platforms. They have nothing to do with what broadcasters or content providers like the way Netflix is or Stream East, what will make them live and be relevant is credibility. If I know that if I go on Stream East, I'll be subjecting myself to content that is not building me in any way, or I'm subjecting my children to content that is messing them up, then no matter what, that content will not be part of me. So we need to work on credibility and all these things that come about. I was joking, telling my friend that, yes, when Edgar Lungu died, a lot said. And the one was just more like a room. Until ZNBC mentioned it. That's when everyone settled and said, hey, I'm done about. You see what I mean? It's the power of credibility, and these are things that we need to work on. Not that if you I don't believe in those things. But I agree with a lot of things. Thank you so much.
Unia. Is it on? Anyway, okay, my question is quite brief. I just didn't understand on the CMOs. You mentioned the visual and audio. My question is, why can't they already piggyback off the structures that Zamcops has been working on? Like, because he had mentioned how when they're asking the people to be paying, there's a lot of
maybe before Pakra comes in, what happens is that in terms of CMOs, every sector, creative sector, has, like the way associations are, we are creatives, but I think we have our own DNA according to understanding. So Zamcops is specifically for music. So us who are in like film, audiovisual, we are also, there's a CMO globally, that is audiovisual. So each member country must also have its own CMO in terms of that sector that is being attended to or represented. So in Zambia, filmmakers do not have their own. So what will happen is that whether we create our own, Zamcops has their own, Reprographics has its own. Is it ZASO? Yes, there's another for it's called ZASO. Each creative space where there are royalties involved, you know, you do your creative. In art, you may have worked 20, 30 years ago, you have retired, your money is still coming back. Yeah. So that ZAM is just for musicians. Us as well, we need to come up with our own CMO that will be collecting. For example, today, Southern, children should have been collecting something if there was a CMO in place. If wherever Place Echo is going. I would like to give an example of Umpali. Umpali was done here on Zambezi Magic, but if you go to, is it Masha Magic? It's a collective management organizations. Their mandate is to collect royalties and manage the rights of their members. Yes. So before I speak for Pakra, maybe Mr. Kenny can qualify more?
No, you have verbally answered.
Yes. So that is what it is. So each. Okay.
Yeah, I can briefly add to the concern that is raised, genuine. When you're looking at a small market, yes, you are thinking, how does this organization go to collect, another one go to the same? You confuse the market. But that is easy to avoid because there are certain places that are mutually in terms of the market. For instance, we license radio and TV. The audiovisual would not license a radio a station, for instance, but they would be able to license a TV station. So then you would be able to agree as CMOs to come up with a one licensing model for those institutions that you have in common. So that when you license, for instance, if Zamcorp's licensing a TV station, they will include what they are licensing for audiovisual as well, and then be able to. So that for the user, they're just dealing with one license, and then the CMOs can do the sharing in the background of what has been collected.
I'm fairly young, so I don't know what the structure has been like. But then I've been hearing some very old, very old. There's now. I don't know if we have in the audiovisual you mentioned how there's you can stream it, right? But then with some folks, have we considered making a streaming platform for the Zambian, especially Zambia?
So that one who will go to this platform, for instance, one would go to YouTube because it has got a global reach. One would go to Spotify because of their reach. Maybe they would also go to, if we are able to come up with a Zambian one, which would have a similar reach, then that way to be able to attract creators to be able to have content. But of course, there are certain things that need to be addressed in that copyright bill that will be able to enable whoever is developing that. But do we have the people doing that? Yes, they are there. And we know the ideas behind and what they're able to do, and how in future we'll be able to work closely with them to ensure that we have, that is the dream, to have a Zambian-owned platform where we are this content for our own creations.
One, two. Is this thing working? Okay, so I think we understand that there is a shift going on in terms of how we consume music, but also film. So, what's your name? Ebo was saying, no, these TV stations, radio, whatever, they are not going anywhere anytime soon. Maybe, maybe not, but there's a shift. That shift is, yeah. We can agree that that's going on, at least, right? So, I'll tell you, when I started music, at Phoenix, right? Phoenix. We totally depended on DJs playing your music. 100%. It didn't matter how bad your song was, how good it was. If a DJ didn't play your song, that's it. That was it. We had to make friends with these DJs, even if we didn't like them, right? But now you have this space. You have other spaces. So space has been democratized. You can just totally do online release, put your music, release online, YouTube or whatever it is. You still get to your audience. So that's going on. My question is to do with policy. As PACRA, as Zamcorps, I don't know if the conversation of this shift was just brought to you today at this symposium, or you've been thinking about it, because I think it's important that you do. But also what I wanted to find out is the bill, the 1994 bill, copyright bill. Do you have a framework? Because you've said you're working on it. So do you have a framework as to when you think that will be completed? But also, it's a good thing that it's not, because then you can use the time to actually revise and get views from the artists. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. We are looking at heuristic. What we are doing is not like addressing the president. The bill that is already there, or you keep referring to the bill, is the act. 1994 was the act. So now what we're doing is we're working on this particular act. This act, we have mentioned, we have done benchmarking with the developed countries, getting provisions from some of the, the ones that have been incorporated. What will happen is a stakeholder engagement. We have got provisions that talk to AI. We've got provisions that talk to what you raised about currently no one can benefit. For your own information, there's a what we call the broadcasting treaty. This treaty refers to this. I wanted to address it when we were talking, but I didn't. As a country, there are certain things that we need to put in place also in knowing certain things that our politics out there. I appreciate or know that Zambia is not a member of the White Copyright Treaty, not a member of the White Personas and Phonogram Treaty, the two, commonly called the Internet Treaty. Monetization. Requires that before you accede to any treaty, it has to go to Parliament. So, process. Europe or America, they'll this payment because you are a member of this treaty. So we need the WPPT, the WCT to access some of these benefits. We might find that things are very
when? Well, I wouldn't say when the thing will be, because but it should be very pretty soon, because you know, I'm sure Parliament will be dissolved. No. It should be in May. Parliament should be dissolved in preparation for the 2026 elections. To look at those, the bill.
So what I wanted to find out from you, and I'm happy you touched on that. I'm a bit concerned with the quality of our lawmakers, because they seem not to be able to get very technical with some of these things. In the developed countries, they have lobby groups. I don't know. I know the president, the Zambia president. You guys are having a full meeting. Zambia. There's something I'm asking, which, so I was saying, you know, one of the challenges we face is I don't know if our lawmakers have the technical know-how. Correct. And what? Because my point being that we needed individuals that can articulate this. Because you see, I think what is said now, for me, has answered why we're struggling with the monetization. I'm telling you, what you've just said now. So in other words, I didn't know before now that we haven't signed treaties. So I'm thinking that those treaties are, not really, no. Serious. Jesus. So now, so we need someone who's going to push, because these parliamentarians, I mean, sorry to say, with all due respect, if a person can stand up and say they are going to run as a presidential candidate and they don't know that there are no laws that provide for an presidential candidate, then we have a problem. Because that's make, you mean they don't know? So if they don't know such a thing, so what I'm saying, sir, do we have lobbyists from PACRA and such organizations who are going to go work with committees and research so that we have a properly done document that will ensure that even those people who are going to push it as a motion will understand what they are pushing?
Thank you very much. Briefly, yes, we do have lobbyists. I would say each time I've got an, you know, you have got in power. You can make there, but you personal and says this is very important. Let's ensure that we'll be able to listen. Other than the fact that the technocrat is busy talking, they'll just maybe it's not. If you go there and say this is affecting me, or is it Zamcops? They went. So that together and come up with these things. Thank you.
Left and they have been mentioned here. Madam Witch.
I've been. It doesn't work. All right. With regards to the broad NBC, actually every district, province,
or the digital space all working together. If one, those two die, believe you me, the future of this other one actually have those devices which job. Most of these people in here are actually actors and that is when people are going that, oh, the again, digital data means that the money you so
wants to ask a question? Anyone? That one? Okay, we'll come to you after.
Okay, so just kind of to your point, Moiche, and also tackling, of course, Abel's point. You know, the beauty about commerce and need in society is need births. So they say necessity is the mother of invention, not so. So if one system collapses, it is because there's a better one. So there will always be a better system that comes, and everybody will just go, you know what, this is miles better. I mean, my favorite example always are the smartphones. You remember Nokia and their Symbian, Windows Mobile and their Windows Mobile platform, and BlackBerry. And what happened with this? They were holding on to their whole thing, and no, nobody puts apps here. It's us who creates everything. And then what did Steve Jobs do? Just came and just disrupted it. He said, guys, anybody bring, put. And overnight that they all disappeared. And they were, imagine Nokia was 70% of the market. But in 5 years, they are gone. Nobody remembers them. So why? Because Apple came on board, and then, what's the other one? Android jumped on board. And between the two, you know, all the systems that are running on these phones are on those two. So what I'm saying is, even for us here in Zambia, broadcast, whatever, radio, TV, it's about who brings a better option. If the consumer, like Dr. Matthew said, it's the consumer who decides. If they think, I mean, sorry to bring this as an example, but I think it's a good one. We had Ulendo. It was Zambian, and we were patriotic about it. But Yandex just brought something far superior, and they sustained it. And they cleared Ulendo out of the market. And unfortunately, that's just how life works. If somebody comes with a bet, Zona, exactly, versus, you know, yeah, absolutely. So, yes, sir. And I'm done.
So my name is Murango Zombe, and I basically. So I'll try and take off from what the gentleman just spoke about concerning unity, but I think I also want to look at of branding and personal branding. What we have here is not necessarily what we have here. Are people are thinking entities. They're creating issues regarding their money. Somebody completes their education, they have their degrees, they creative spaces, no matter like the market isn't ready to actually accommodate as an entity of business or as economically to the environment. What I mean is as creative or for someone of their materials. Whilst if you go in the corporate spaces, it's mandatory for you to actually have ZACWA review your qualifications. So in that particular space, they are already being considered as people that are relevant, as an entity that needs to be protected to ensure that there's no copyright or there's no of qualifications. Musicians, you look at like myself, creatives, it's a hobby, and then hobby, you need certain associations to support you. Whilst, as it has been mentioned already, talking about
I think answer to that would be education.
eso.
The utility of art and things like that. For me personally, I tend to think maybe they know the power of what art is, and they know that these people, when they get together and powerful with the money, maybe they will be uncontrollable or something like that. So we cannot just be here thinking they don't know what art is all about. They don't know, they have been in the society, they read, they see things, they know what it is all about. So I feel like we need to work together as artists and be powerful, because we can only be powerful when we are working together. Amen?
Let us get united, like he said, and make sure that we follow up on these issues. I've mentioned to say I can only do much. People can only do much, but you people, the artists, are the ones that build the influence. If you're able to keep on singing the same song, people will hear and say, okay, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My takeaway from this is that we've identified one hindrance, silo, that is preventing us to move from one step. And initially, we did not have one key stakeholder who is Pakra. Now that Pakra is here, and we know the role that they have in what we identified as a roadblock. So we need to pile pressure on Mr. Sambu. We want them and all these artists to go to Mr. Sambu's office every day until we realize. When Mr. Sambu is, he also directs us to where we go until we realize that is what was.
For me as a creative, I'm certainly happy when we have talking shops like this. Definitely, I'm correct. Rex raised the valid point to say we can be saying the same things. But the fact that we're talking, in my books, is progress than not talking. The only issue is we need to get more serious, and I'm glad, for example, this year, that Macra's here, and more of the key stakeholders and policy drivers are in the room. And as we do this, certainly we will see a shift. I'm also glad say it, but I'll say it anyway. I'm also glad that we have people like my friend there, Biflo, helming Zambia. Why do I say so? Because you need individuals that are very vision focused, that are going to push the organization far forward to take us to where we really ought to be as an organization, as artists. But it's not just him. It's all the different organizations that are here today. If we can get this consented leadership, and I'm glad, special mention to Mr. Sakala there, Kaseke, for even working with your organization to put this together. We really need to push this more, and in the words of Uncle Rex, let's not. I get a bit discouraged with the whole thing of prepare a paper because my paper. So when I hear somebody telling me put a paper, I just quit. I don't even try because I'm like, go look at the 8th National Development Plan, look at the 7th National Plan. These things are there. We contributed.
It came up yesterday. Someone said present a case.
I hope you told them that we've presented.
We did.
So don't tell us about presenting cases. Let's move now. So I'm just encouraging the artists that let's go to the next stage. Beyond just putting that in a paper, let's find lobbies. I really believe with all my heart, if we can have people like Biflo or whoever, her,
and yourself,
and myself, sitting in those committees to really knock their heads and tell them, guys, we are not interested in another talking show. Can you give us tangibles? We're going back out there. We want to take things that artists are going to say, hey, Papa, that's it. Not barefoot materials. The artists are very important. We know that. Yeah, no, we know. Don't go us. Tell us what we're going to do so that people can apply it.
Thank you so much. Without wasting much time, I think for me, it's an issue of action. And representing the board, as I'm happy that our chairperson is here, I think one of the things that we're going to do, we were crying back then for the fuel policy, the arts policy, those are already there. Even in this act, we'll cry for it to be given to us. But if we do not resolve as a unit to work and make sure it is implemented, we'll come back and discuss the same things as Chair and Board Member Eric has been saying. So I think for us, the next thing that we need to do is look at what is the implementation plan. And the implementation plan is not just for the committee, the task force, but we must involve everyone. Let's make sure our people understand what we are doing, because it doesn't make sense to define chairman or come back visiting offices. If our people on the ground don't see what we are doing, it amounts to nothing. They always say that it is about numbers. So when the fights go, let the other constituency also understand and they begin to talk about it. The moment we make noise, they will look at us.
Yes.
I always say that we're in a ministry where we've got a first born, second born, and we're supposed to a third born. But I always say the reason the first born gets attention because everyone, they say, but Zambia there, everyone goes to go and watch. So let's go in a space where we say the artists have spoken, everybody speaks for us. That is where we're supposed to go. I rest my case. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lee and gentlemen. And of course, you've been wonderful as well. I hope we've gotten one or two things from the copyright, creative freedom, and of course, owning our works. I'm going to summarize using, obviously, the words that our wise panelists here have used, and of course, the wise you people who are here. The call to action, breaking silos starts with dialogue, but must end with action. Shared systems, shared responsibility, and shared prosperity for all creatives. Thank you so much for your time, and panelists, ladies and gentlemen.
Sylvia. And again, would like to appreciate our panelists who took time today to engage on these different issues, as well as the audience. I know issues around the arts are kind of touchy and they strike certain nerves. But the fact of the matter is that we need to make progress, whether it be baby steps, it starts from somewhere. And we did have our last symposium where a lot of things that we've heard here were said, and certain gaps were observed that have to be filled, and it has to be a process, right? I think we were talking about, in the other engagement, we're talking about advocacy and how sometimes advocacy can take time. Obviously, we don't want to accept it as the norm, but we need to realize and recognize certain institutions and certain individuals. I'll mention something to say. I was chatting with a government individual, and he said, the problem is you assume that we know, okay? You think that we know when we are here to actually hear from you, okay? And I think one thing that becomes very important is to have the individuals from the different institutions that matter, the different institutions that hold certain power, to be part of this process. So one thing that was key, I think last time, was to bring on board our colleagues and ensure that we can start pushing forward together. I believe that we, and Mr. Malumba said it very well, you know, we need to be definitely united, and there were concrete actions that we did actually recognize. But we also thought, and we also said, we need to ensure that we are not doing piecemeal kind of engagement. That becomes very, very important. And our colleagues also from government kept saying, let's bring on board the right people. And that's why we were couched within the framework of breaking the silos. And I would put it to the House to say that we would want to update that particular action plan with the concrete actions that we're ready to step forward with and actually put it into practice. One thing we've also done is we've seen that we've got our colleagues also who are working with the other monetizing task force and the like. And we thought it's also important to bring them on board so that we're able to speak one language together. So unfortunately, Mr. Kasongo, position papers will always be there. And even when I engage with certain people, I say, but put your thoughts on paper. You know, sometimes it's very important for that engagement. But again, what you're saying is very true. We want to be accompanied by action. And as such, I would want us to update that particular task force action plan, and then we put it in our group. We move together, especially that we have on board the other institutions. So with that being said, I would like to thank everyone, and if we are okay moving that direction, are we fine moving that direction? Yes. I would want us to enjoy the rest of our evening from fighting and throwing punches. Let us now go and unofficially chat, and I believe that is where now the real advocacy will be. Have a chat with Mr. Mirias, have a chat with Mr. Nsamvu, and let's expose them also to this particular sector of ours. So to thank you once again, and probably the logistical side, those that have not been seen, I think Tabitha would be put to that task. Then we are inviting you to number one. There is some snacks here for us to, someone was asking me about snacks, was it Yunzo? For us to nibble on, but also we are going to have our unplugged session, so from talking to action. Let us also enjoy and interact through celebrating music, poetry also, and we'll have our special residence with our special session today in the restaurant, outside the restaurant, bar area. I don't want to say bar area. Swimming pool area, somewhere there. We'll also have some cocktails there and a few drinks for us to just conclude this conversation. So thank you very much and have a good evening. We'll see you at the next symposium. Thank you.